Get ready to dive into one of the most tragic and emblematic cases in United States history. Etan Killel Patz, born on October 9, 1972, disappeared in New York City on May 25, 1979, while on his way to school. He was only 6 years old. On May 25, 2025, it will be 46 years since Etan's abduction, which made him the symbol of missing children in the country. He was legally declared dead in 2001, but his story continues to haunt collective memory. What really happened to Etan Patz? How did he become the most wanted child in the United States in 1979? Join us as we explore the dark details and twists of this case that shocked the world and forever changed the way we handle child disappearances. Stanley and Julie Patz acquired a spacious loft on the third floor of a building on Prince Street in the Soho neighborhood of Manhattan, New York, in 1972, the same year their son was born. At that time, the New York we know today was very different. Violent crimes were common, and there was a widespread perception of insolvency and austerity, accompanied by a strong presence of public sector unions. Amid this, pamphlets emerged warning people to avoid the city, calling it the city of fear, advising them to stay away from the skyscrapers until conditions improved. Although the warnings were alarming, Soho was still seen as a typical working-class neighborhood where one could live relatively peacefully. Some parents even risked leaving baby carriages outside while shopping. However, this situation changed drastically on May 25, 1979, a cloudy Friday. On that day, a significant event occurred. Julie's son convinced his mother to let him take the school bus without adult supervision for the first time. Unfortunately, it would also be the only time he experienced that freedom. Julie believed he was mature enough to take care of himself, equipping him with a backpack decorated with elephants, a cap, and $1 to buy a drink. But as he passed by Buster Street, near the bus stop at Prince and Westbrook, she saw him for the last time. With a restless heart, Julie grew worried when her son did not return home at the usual time. As soon as she realized he had not come back, she reported it, and the police immediately began combing the streets for the boy. Helicopters hovered overhead, while detectives and journalists, along with volunteers, quickly arrived at the Patz house, drawn by the unfolding tragedy. The communication about the disappearance echoed across the country, and the matter remained in the spotlight. Approximately 500,000 photographs of the child were distributed, pasted on buses, schools, and airports, but there were no clues or suspects to aid in his location. For a long time, the family waited for news, but the years passed, and Etan never returned home. Faced with a lack of information, a new strategy was devised to try to find him. In 1984, the National Child Safety Council created a non-profit organization dedicated to protecting missing children. In this context, a program was launched to distribute photographs on milk cartons, intending to place the image and a brief description of the missing child on millions of cartons sold in supermarkets. Etan was one of the first cases to appear in this project. Just weeks after its inception, the program was implemented by more than 700 independent dairies in the U.S., in partnership with major manufacturers. Despite all efforts and widespread publicity, the results were disappointing. The only known success case in this program was Bonnie Loman, who had been kidnapped by her mother and stepfather. She was found at the age of 3 and recognized her own image on a milk carton. The country's outrage over the abduction was immense, reflecting the seriousness and anguish involved in such situations. In 1983, Ronald Reagan, then President of the United States, established May 25th as National Missing Children's Day in honor of this cause. Despite the efforts, in 2001, after nearly 22 years, Etan Patz was officially declared dead. During all this time, Etan's parents never changed residence or altered their phone number, hoping it might aid the investigations. The initial investigations focused on Joseph, the couple who cared for Etan, as well as the Ramos family, who always denied the accusations. There were no formal charges against them, as there was no concrete evidence. The police even investigated a basement where Ramos had lived years earlier, in 2000, and although they found bones, forensic analysis revealed they were from wild animals. At that time, he was serving a sentence for a crime related to a minor. In 2012, the Missing Persons Brigade of the New York City Police Department in Harlem received a call from an informant who watched television, where they showed the excavation of a basement on Prince Street in search of clues about a child who disappeared in 1979. The man mentioned that he believed his brother-in-law could be involved, not only because he worked nearby, but also because he had heard reports that several family members had killed someone, although he did not delve into the matter. The name that emerged was Pedro Hernandez, a Puerto Rican who was 18 years old at the time of the disappearance. He worked in a store on West Broadway, very close to the student's stop. After being arrested, Hernandez confessed to the crime, claiming that he met the boy, offered him a drink, and took him to the basement, where he strangled him. He then placed the body in a plastic bag and disposed of it in a trash bin at a nearby building. He also stated that he believed the child was still alive when he left him to his fate. Although landfills in the area were searched, such as those located along the state line and on Fontanelle Avenue in Brooklyn, and even the World Armaments incinerator, the body was never found. When asked by the police about the crime, he responded that he did not know exactly what he felt at the moment, but described an uncontrollable desire to kill. An important detail the police considered relevant in his testimony was that Pedro Hernandez did not recognize a door that was in the old store. Investigators, when checking the plans, confirmed that this door was indeed not present at the time of the crime, indicating that he had some knowledge of the location. Before the emergence of this individual, several prisoners claimed to be the "it killer," while others provided misleading information. Some even presented themselves at the accused parents' residence, claiming to be their son. The first trial of Pedro Hernandez took place in 2015, but there were no witnesses to the abduction, subsequent murder, or body. Thus, the jury had no choice but to consider only his confession, along with the arguments presented by his defense attorneys, who emphasized mental issues that prevented him from distinguishing reality from fantasy. Among the symptoms cited were severe paranoia, social anxiety, and peculiar beliefs, and he also had a low IQ, below 70. After 11 days, the trial was declared a mistrial due to the inability to reach a unanimous verdict. The second trial occurred in 2017, and after 9 days of deliberations, the jury found Pedro Hernandez guilty of kidnapping and murder. He received a minimum sentence of 25 years and a maximum of life in prison. The future of parole after 25 years remains uncertain, with the possibility of life imprisonment. In 2019, Pedro's parents sold the house on Prince Street in New York and discreetly moved to Hawaii. Before leaving, they held on to the hope that their son would one day knock on the door. The property, measuring 218 square meters, was sold for $3.75 million, according to a brokerage firm. Following the tragic case, there were positive consequences, such as the approval of the Missing Children's Assistance Act by the U.S. Congress in 1984, which resulted in the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Additionally, it became mandatory for schools to make automated calls to guardians when a child did not show up for class. Julie, for example, never received this fatal call on that unfortunate Friday, May 25, 1979. The case of Etten Patz is one of the most tragic and emblematic in the history of missing children in the United States. In my opinion, this case marked a turning point in raising awareness about child safety and society's response to disappearances. The way the case was handled, from the initial investigations to the ongoing efforts to keep Etten's memory alive, demonstrates the profound and lasting impact that a single disappearance can have on legislation, safety practices, and public perception. To me, it is evident that Etten Patz's disappearance shed light on the flaws in child safety practices of the time. The fact that he disappeared while making a short walk to the school bus stop without adult supervision highlights the need for more stringent measures to protect children. The introduction of National Missing Children's Day and the implementation of programs like milk carton advertisements are examples of how society began to respond more proactively and visibly to the issue of missing children, albeit with mixed results. Finally, the case of Etten Patz also underscores the importance of technological advancements and collaboration among security agencies. The investigations, although initially limited by the technology and methods available at the time, evolved significantly over the years, leading to the arrest of Pedro Hernandez decades later. This case teaches us that hope should never be lost and that continuous advancements in technology and investigative methods are crucial for solving cold cases and bringing some level of closure to affected families. If you enjoyed this video, take the opportunity to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Every subscription and comment is crucial for me to continue producing interesting content for you. I greatly appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you in the next video.